everybody. I'm Joyce. This is Brian. I met Brian in WealthCon back in July, and we've become really close since then. I interviewed him back then. And what was your goal in July that you were going to attain to this quarter?
Yeah, so last time we talked, you asked me the same question, and we were just on incredible momentum, just so inspired last time. And I think I mentioned that I wanted to take massive action. That was my goal from last WealthCon. And since then, we have done, with my wife and I, we've been able to just start, networking, meeting a lot of people. And through that, and through a lot of our actions and activity, we were able to close on our first flip just last month after WealthCon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is the next goal you have in mind for the next quarter?
Yeah, so coming off of this WealthCon, again, excellent conference. Super inspired, just ready to, take more and more action. And this time, I think we're going to build better systems and processes to allow us to acquire more, and that's kind of the focus. And our goal before the next WealthCon is to acquire at least 2, maybe 3 more flips.
Awesome. I'm going to hold you to it, Brian.
Yes.
I'm already looking forward to January's WealthCon.
I love it. Me too. We'll see you guys there.
Good job. You guys are getting way.
Guys, all the All-Stars are welcome to go to those retreats for free. So the last retreat, they went to Mexico and they built
responsibility. And so why would you want to go from hustler to CEO? First of all, freedom, right? I don't look at, another thing I wanted to do, as this journey has came along is I wanted to impact a lot of lives. I was talking to Gary Hart to get average results, and that's why so many people are out of business. They didn't level up. So what did I do when that happened? I went to work. I didn't show up to one of these events for almost a year. Look up, and I was spending, in the office at 6 a.m. every day, leaving at 6 p.m., focused on not letting this happen again. I'm gonna be one of the best at what I do now. Not gonna settle for average anymore.
players, right? This includes friends. This includes family members. This includes employees. So most of you guys are not where you want to be because you're around the wrong people. And they might be good, but they're not good enough for where you're trying to go. Right? And this is kind of harsh, but that's the reality of the situation. My life didn't get exponentially better until I realized, okay, there's other levels and I need to get around those other levels. Right? Because if you're thinking small and then you're around people who are thinking small, how are you going to grow? If you're lazy and you're hanging around lazy people, how are you going to get productive? You don't know. You're looking at a mirror every day. You're seeing people who are just like you, and you can't figure out what the problem is. Right? So I just want you guys to really take this in. Because some people are good that are around you, but they're not good enough depending on how big you want to be. If you want to be as big as Clint, myself, Ryan, Dakota, all these people who are multi-millionaires, it ain't going to be by staying around the same people. So yeah, I just
seller financing, and she messed up a deal for me last week. So what do you suggest other than?
I'd suggest find someone who's willing to play your game.
That's a manufactured home, because that's really where I'm struggling right now. And you can let them know the reasons of why. And a lot of times when you can be convicted and that you're uncertain and you convey that, they understand and they're more willing to take a lower price because you're like trying to find a win-win.
What kind of exercise do you use?
Morning, Clint. I'm Daryl Bailey from New Jersey. Do you mind telling us about your other coaches? So you mentioned you got 8 coaches for different things. Do you mind elaborating and sharing what coaches you have? And the second question is that your avatar for an A-class player, what does that look like?
Sure. So an A player, first of all, is someone who fits in your core values and meets performance standards. That's it. If they can meet performance standards and fit within your core values, that's an A player to me. And then the other question about the coaches, I mean, if you can name a coach in the industry, I've hired him at some point. I promise you. I'm in several different masterminds still. I have a one-on-one coach. I probably spend, I don't know, 20K a month on coaching right now, because I have one personal coach that's 10K a month. I'm in Collective Genius. You know, I've done Tiffany and Josh's thing. I've done a million others, like literally. And that's why, you know, I've been able to do what I've done, is because I'm trying to learn how to get to the next level. And every season in your business requires some type of different coach. You need people to help you through whatever you're going through at the time. And I haven't been scared to spend money on them. You know, like I talked about before, the 3 frameworks that I spend money on: more people, more marketing, more coaches.
Hello, Greg Taylor. I was wondering, you mentioned about some people that you've hired and giving them percentages of ownership in the company. How do you determine what positions, how much to give, things like that? And do you have kind of a bot, like you want to keep at least X%?
Yeah, so I definitely want to be the majority owner at all times, right? That's the most important thing to me. But with, you know, when I hired Ren, he wasn't, you know, I knew he wasn't going to accept anything less than equity. He was that level of a guy. I had to do that to get him. And I knew, you know, hey, we're not even a sellable business right now. Like, what does it matter? You know? So I wanted control. I kept control on the operating agreement. Like, I make the final decisions no matter what. But I wanted to give him equity because I wanted to get his buy-in, right? And so when I did that, Tyler, who had been working his ass off for years for me and building our business, he works harder than me. Like, I'm not ashamed to say it, he does work harder than me. And I thought about it and I was like, man, I can't just bring in a partner and not give Tyler a piece of this. He's just as responsible of building this as me. So basically I give Tyler the same equity as Ren. And, you know, I kept 51%, I gave them 24 each. But I did that because I exposed, like when Tyler came to work for me, he wasn't the person he is today. And I exposed him to entrepreneurship, and I exposed him what was possible. So if I didn't give him that piece, you know, somebody else could come out and poach him. Somebody else could, you know, he could go pursue another opportunity. He was eventually gonna run out of happiness because he wasn't at that level. He was gonna feel like a lower level. So it kind of put handcuffs on him to stay, but it also was, you know, an opportunity for him to own part of the business, and he deserved it. He deserved it just as much as me. So I think it's case by case, but for me, I did it for buy-in. I wanted him to feel like it was his company. You know, my company used to be called Cooper Cash Offer. When Ren came on board and Tyler's there, I'm like, guys, like, y'all are owners in this company. I don't want it to be about me anymore. Let's come up with a name we collectively agree about. I wanted to get their buy-in. I wanted them all in.
Hi there, Clint. My name is Sergio. Just moved out to Vegas. Great speech, by the way. I got 2 questions. First one would be, what would be the biggest advice that you'd give to us sitting in this seat for the first time? And second one was, it could be personal or business-wise, but what was your biggest giant and what was the rock that helped you kill that giant?
So, main piece of advice I can give to anyone starting out is just fail. Like, not be scared to take action. Take as much action as possible and think about the worst case scenario that could happen when you're making that decision to do that deal or whatever it is, and take the risk if you're not gonna die or go out of business, right? A lot of real estate is, you know, you wanna avoid game over. When you have 40, 50 flips going on at a time, this can be scary because you have a 08 happen, you're out of business. If you don't have the cash to cover it, you're out of business. Game over. So avoiding game over is a big thing, but your shoes, you just gotta take massive action, man. You can't be scared. You gotta be fierce. You gotta get uncomfortable. You know, when scaling a business, sometimes it feels like you're out of control. It feels like you're driving a car and you're literally out of control. When you're hiring 3, 4, 5 people and you've never done that before, it's a weird experience. But that's when growth happens. You figure it out as you go. So just take as much action as possible and then elaborate more on the giant that you're talking about. Can you explain that a little further?
Yeah, so yesterday, who was the, Tim talked about, oh yeah, right, Tim in the worship talked about David and Goliath.
Yep.
And basically how with one rock, he was able to kill his giant, right? The giant being Goliath. So it's, in terms of what was the most just personal personal or business-wise, or just what was your biggest giant that you felt like was stopping you in getting into that next phase in your life to succeed, you know?
Yeah, so it was myself 100%. Just, you know, we talked about, you know, the level of leaders, the level of business you're gonna have. I just wasn't a leader, you know? I was out of shape, you saw that picture. I was a bad husband, I was a bad father, I was a bad businessman, horrible leader. So I had to figure out myself. That was the main reason why I've gotten the results that I've gotten, is because I've bettered myself. You know, Kobe Bryant is my favorite player of all time. He talks about Mamba mentality, you know, being a better version of yourself every day. I talked about that Matthew McConaughey quote of chasing your hero. You know, the hero is the person that was you are in 10 years. So it's just, man, embodying that 1% better mindset and going out and trying to be a better version of yourself the next day. That was the hardest part for me, is getting on that journey. And I'm telling you right now, when I sat in this room 3 years ago, I didn't know how to do that at all. I wasn't getting 1% better. And incrementally, I became a different person. And the person I am 2-3 years from now is gonna be very different as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Shelly. I'm here in Vegas. When it comes to training your team and your team leads, what does that look like on like a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that drives culture is, you know, how you do things. And so for us is we have a hype huddle every morning. Sales team gets on and they go over good news, focus, and numbers from the previous day. So they got to be accountable to, hey, give me your calls, talk time, offers, contracts from the day before. We're gonna hype them up, we're gonna give a great speech, and then we're gonna separate by division, lead management, dispositions, and acquisitions, and we're gonna do a training every single morning, every day. It's just, sales is just like a sport. And like I said, you know, marketing or wholesale is just a sales and marketing team. So you have to be good at sales. And what we have found is if you're not practicing daily, you're not sharp. You know, you're falling off the cliff. So we built out, you know, our director of lead management trains every morning, our director of acquisitions trains every morning, and our director of dispositions trains every single morning without hesitation. We never miss a hype huddle. It's like our sacred meetings that we have to have. That's how we build culture, that's how we build accountability, and that's how we get our team better. So providing them with great resources. Like we bought every sales training in the book to go over with them. Does that help?
What, from this, I can talk loud real quick. From this conference, everything that you heard, what is the most actionable thing that you heard this week?
Most actionable thing this week. I think, you know, really just, it's kind of cliche, but Ed Milet just talking about going out and competing every day, being relentless. And like, you know, he talked about the jersey thing. It's like, you guys are wearing other people's jerseys. Wear your family's jersey. Put your name on your back and do it for your family. It was great. It was great. It brought a lot of emotions out for me. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. It's just go out and compete for your family. You're doing it for the people you love, people you care about, and use your past experiences to be able to make an impact on the world.
What's your why?
My why?
Yeah, like you've been super successful. There is always going to be a spectrum even here among us. Some are going to be successful, some are not.
Yeah.
You've been super successful. There is a why, there is a drive that you have.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think it's just, I'm just a fierce competitor. I love to compete. And when I see other people doing better than me, it bothers me. But also, I want to help a lot of people. I want to be able to make an impact on a lot of lives. I've done it a little bit so far, but I think I can do it a lot more. And once I got a taste of that, it's almost like a drug. It's like, man, how many people can I help now? Well, I got to get my business to a whole nother level to be able to help more people. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Hey there, what is your most profitable lead source at the moment to build like and grow like you have? I'm assuming you got a ton of different things, but what would you say for people that aren't at your level would be the best lead sources in this market?
So I think it's just, you know, very dependent on your cash situation, right? Because inbound marketing is going to cost a lot more. It's going to be better leads, better results. But if you don't have the cash to do it, you may have to text message, you may have to cold call, you may have to, you know, door knock, you may have to drive for dollars. So it's very dependent on your cash position, whether you need to hustle for leads, or you can just pay for them to come in and call you. But my number one source is direct mail. United States Postal Service is by far the best. I spend about $100,000 a month on direct mail.
Thank you.
Yep.
My name is Masa. I'm here in Vegas. Brand new, so that resonated with me. I'm in sales now.
Yep.
If I'm looking to make a transition, and let's say I'm working full time, and I wanted to set aside, let's say, an amount for marketing to just start off by myself solo, while literally learning everything I know about real estate in the same exact time, what would be your advice on like what I should allocate, let's say in the first 3 months to just hit the ground running on my own?
What do you want to do? Do you want to be out of your W-2 full-time in real estate?
100% I want to be out of my W-2 full time. I have no idea because I literally came here for content creation.
Yep.
And saw what an opportunity that it was, and I've been in sales for 20 years. So, and just to be able to create it on my own versus.
Yeah. So I guess my kind of thing with that is I would probably, it depends on your cash position. I'm not gonna sit here and ask you how much cash you have, but
What would you recommend putting aside or having,
it just depends on how much you got and how much you're willing to burn. Because a lot of times when you're starting out, you don't know what you're doing it the wrong way. You may be burning money. I've burned a lot of it over the years, testing things out and trying things. I really like starting out with relationships. Buying a deal from a wholesaler, buying a deal from a realtor, wholesaling a deal from a realtor. Because there's no cost, not a lot of risk, it just requires a lot of hustle.
what are you looking for? Like, are you door-to-dooring it in that situation? My relationship
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
What is-
So, I'll explain kind of how I got started. When I joined December of 2020, first thing I did was I blocked out 4 hours of every single day, and I cold call 100 realtors every single day. Relentless with it. Never missed a beat. Never missed a day. Made those 100 calls for 3 straight months, and that's how I got my first few deals. So I literally just cold call realtors, and I would tell them, hey, I'm a cash buyer. I'm looking for a fixer-upper. If you know someone who's in distress or needs a quick cash sale, I'm your guy. And so I literally just Googled realtor in my area, started going down the list. I have a list in my iPhone still to this day of like 500 realtors that just says realtor in their name. And I would follow up with them every 2 weeks with a text message or a call, like relentless for a while. That's literally how I built the foundation of my business, created cash to be able to go out and hire, marketing, more coaches.
So what CRM do you use?
What CRM did? I use call tools. It's like the most basic thing in the world. It's literally like a phone system, and they have a built-in CRM. And when I say it was an absolute mess, it was an absolute mess. We eventually graduated from call tools. When Tyler came in, he moved us to Podio, built that out, and then now we're in Salesforce. Yep. Who else has questions?
So direct mail, so you said you use that quite a bit. So do you just blanket out send to all the homes down or out here you get some lists, and if you do, how do you get those lists?
Yeah, so I think the best thing to do with direct mail is literally just blanket it. Like send it to everybody. But we're not at the ability where we can send it. I don't know how many homes there are in the Atlanta area, but there's about 8 million people in the metro area. And so we don't have the ability to mail them all because we don't have the budget for it right now. But that would be the ultimate goal if we could do that. Right now we use predictive data sets like there's, Audantic, DataFlick, 80/20, REI, there's a bunch of different ones. We just use one of theirs, and it's basically, they predict which seller is most likely to sell. We mail their list. They send us a new list every month. We do some courthouse stuff, so like we'll get probate lists and somewhat niche lists, but majority of our list that we mail to is just that predictive data set.
Is that the EDM type product, or are you still with addresses and put them in, you have a customized list like that?
They just send us a list, skip trace. So like we say, hey, we want the data for these 15 counties. Send us all the data that you think is most likely to sell, and we're gonna mail them all. Come skip trace, we're gonna mail them all. Anybody else?
So you have a lot of overhead, you have 60 employees, you're probably leasing a building, using Salesforce, that's expensive, and then your coaching is very expensive. What's your break even?
break even right now is like $370,000. And that's moved up exponentially, and we probably moved it too high too quick. But yeah, it's about 370K right now. I imagine, yeah, and it'll probably move closer. You know, the goal is to get to 2 million a month. We'll probably have an overhead of 600 or 700K at that point. But in saying that, don't increase your expenses until you get some consistency. We probably did it too fast, but as long as we hit over that 397 number, everything else is pretty much profit, take home.
As you've grown, what vendor partner relationships has been most important?
Vendor relationships. Yeah. So I don't think it's mail because we've used different mail companies, very similar results. I would say just the CRM. I think Salesforce is an absolute beast, but it takes a lot of work to build out, and you have to have someone fully focused on it if you're going to do it. But the power behind it and the reports we can build out and the dashboards and get clarity on what's not performing, what is performing, tracking everything, it's probably the most powerful tool we have. It's the best tool to manage sales reps.
With your mailers, what's your frequency of mail? Do you mind if I ask what it costs per unit, and what type of mail are you doing, like postcards or letters or what?
Yeah, so we do quite a few mail pieces, but typically we're gonna mail a seller at least 3 times. We hit them with postcards, we hit them with these fake checks in the mail, we hit them with the handwritten, we hit them all different angles. And we also cold call and text those same people as well. But frequency is typically, we're trying to mail them 3 times for the first 3 months. After that, we're probably gonna take them off the list. Yep. Anybody else?
All right, guys.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Abby. Really, really nervous. My name is Joyce. This is Daryl, and then Shelly's our family from here. But anyway, I just wanted to come up here and just bring awareness. As you guys have probably heard in the news, there was a huge wildfire. I'm sorry. But we're from Lahaina, so we were impacted greatly by the Lahaina wildfire. We had lost a bunch of houses. Our family had lost their houses, but our entire community basically burnt down to ashes. So anyway, I'm here to just bring awareness to everybody, you know, that there is a lot of suffering that is happening there on Maui right now, and we have been reaching out for help, and obviously the Wealthy Investor program has been such a great community for us. These were the people that reached out to me on the day of the fire, the day after the fire, once it did stop. But that's the reason why I'm here. Really, it's everything in Maui right now is just it's a tragedy. It really is, and we are grateful to be here. We're here primarily to get more motivation and to continue just with our real estate journey. And you know, if you guys, we love this community. If you guys feel like you are inspired to help us or anybody in our community, we do have a QR code that we have up here. Again, if you are in a position to help us, we would greatly appreciate it. And like I said, this has been such a great family for us to be here, and we really are inspired to get back home to help and to rebuild. It's gonna be 3 years before we're able to even do anything back there. So we are living in hotels. There's a lot of us that are living in hotels and being housed there. So housing is a real issue right now, and it's gonna take a lot for us to get back on our feet. But thank you guys in advance for all of your help and allowing us to be here to talk.
Cool.
Quick question is the best way to help just through GoFundMe. I've thought about like what's going on over there too, and I have a construction company in San Diego. Like, I mean, you mentioned 3 months down the road or 3 years down the road before building happens. Is there any way like my construction company could like donate time or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of organizations right now. Zasha is working with Kiko Capital and a bunch of other real estate investors to put together teams when that time does come to get laborers out there. But
Okay.
again, 3 years is going to be a long time for
So best thing right now is with funds.
To get through like basic necessities, I
Yeah.
think just to get through basic necessities, and then housing also is very, very short. Rents are going up because there isn't anywhere to rent. Some people are getting forced to, go off island, find housing elsewhere. This is our 9th island, so I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot that have to move out of off the island to make ends meet.
Thank you.
Round of applause for her. Treat yourself like your first employee. Like hold yourself to that standard. Because typically what happens as solopreneurs, I've done it for a long time. You let things slide, but things that you wouldn't let your slide for your employees, right? So it's like show up and work for yourself like you would want your employee to work for you. And then once you hold yourself to that standard, it's a lot easier to now bring somebody on because they see how you work. Like I mentioned, your team, once you have one, they're looking at you. They're analyzing you. Like, what can I get away with? What can't I get away with? Right? And they might not look at it that way, but it's just, that's the standard.
In terms of evaluating people, how do you evaluate the potential objectively? Because performance, it's measurable, right?
Yeah.
But potential, how do you measure that?
So I think it's a mix of intelligence, capability in the job, right? And that's why something that we recommend too is you should have, especially in the real estate business, you should have a deep knowledge of every single thing. You don't have to be an expert in negotiations. You don't have to be an expert in building relationships and acquisitions, dispo, all that kind of stuff, right? But you should have a basic understanding, so that way when you bring somebody on, hopefully they're better than you at it. But you still can hold them accountable and see what their potential is. And for those of you guys who haven't hired employees, usually you know what an A player is and what a B player is and what a C player is, and usually know how high they can get, right? It comes with experience, it comes with practice, but objectively I think you're measuring past performance in the role, you're measuring desire, I think is a big thing too, do they actually want to improve and get better? And those are the things that we use to measure possible performance. In the back.
Just following up on this question, can you share some example of key KPIs on the productivity side and also on the financial side that you value a lot and keep your eyes on?
Sure. In real estate, for us, obviously, it's return on ad spend in terms of the biggest KPIs, right? And the way you would measure that is, for example, we spend a lot of money on TV. We spend anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 a month on TV. And so it's okay, how many leads came in? So spend, leads. Then after that, how many appointments and how many contracts, and how many actually made it to the closing table and were we able to close on, right? So we know that we should close at about from appointment to close, we should be at a 33% close ratio, right? That's for us because we go in, we're body to body, we sit there and we talk through everybody. So on that end, right? Then it's also how many dials does somebody need to make in order to make those contacts, right? We're more concerned with how many contracts you get and how much time you're on the phone. Dials, so this is the way we look at sales just in general, dials should be the lowest metric on the list, right? First, it should be how many contracts did you get? And also, how big are those contracts? How deep of a discount did we get? Then it's, so if you didn't get your contracts, how much time were you on the phone? Okay, if you weren't on the phone for 2 hours that day, then how many dials did you make? Dials is the very last metric that we look at for sales. Marketing is, return on ad spend, that kind of stuff. For flipping, what's our budget? How many times did we go over budget? We bonus our project managers based on how many times they hit their deadlines in terms of what we want on the market, and also if they stayed on budget. Right here.
So South Talent Construction Limited. So I have a new COO that I've been growing. What would you say was instrumental in your development as a COO, or the coaching program that you're currently participating in as a COO?
Sure. So I'm part of the COO Alliance. Is the name of the coaching program. The main guy, he's been the CEO of 8 or 9 different companies. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is probably the biggest, and a bunch of others. So same thing. It's just networking, understanding. They have their own frameworks. I really think and not just saying it because number one, you guys gotta get access to it. So I'm not selling you anymore. You're already in. Wealthy business is huge. Getting on those coaching calls Like it is 127 page curriculum that they go through every single week. And I would start there and have him attending those calls if he isn't already, and going through that entire curriculum. And we need to do a better job of implementing it, but like the more I look at it, the more I'm like, oh, this is good. This is really good. Like Gary does a great job of outlining everything in that program. So strongly recommend having him attend those calls. I think that's step one. Also, I think it's spending a lot of time with him in the beginning, right? One thing that I talk about a lot is like micromanagement and just coaching look very similar. It just depends on when you're doing it, right? The first 3 months, and obviously it sounds like, how long has he been with you?
He's been with me 2 years.
Oh, then yeah, you're good.
He was
But
in a VP of Ops role and has just recently transitioned.
gotcha. Yeah, so one thing that like I'm trying to focus on more is like the first 3 months that somebody's in that new role, just like being with them every day. Like, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. Why did you do it this way? Like poking holes in every single thing that they do. So that way, if you set the precedent early on, you're in good shape. And then, if you do it the other way, where you give them a lot of freedom in the beginning, then when you come back in and try to course correct, if egos get involved, it feels a lot more like micromanagement. But in reality, they just look very, very similar. It just depends on when you're doing it.
I have a question. We talked about transitioning from like B2C players, like A players, right?
Mhm.
So when you're transitioning from B2C players, how do you transition without completely firing your team and right? Like get rid of B and C players and bring in A players? So from your guys' experience, how do you attract those A players and get rid of the B2C?
So we operated from a kind of scarcity mindset for a little while, where we're like, we have these really good guys. Like I don't want to get rid of them, right? And I'm sure that's a lot of you, especially some of your acquisitions people, the people who are like the lifeblood of your business. And what we really had to do is like just have a very, number one, understand that like by letting them go, a few things might break, but it's not going to be as bad as you think. Somebody's going to come in and pick up the slack. And that brings me to my next point, where if you have a really solid pipeline of recruits coming in, and that for you, I don't know how big your business is or how it operates or how much budget you would have for, putting job ads out and that kind of stuff. But if you have a steady pipeline of people coming in, that scarcity mindset goes away very quickly. And you're like, you know what? Like, it's okay because I got 10 other guys who want to take your spot, right? So it's number one, making sure that you have the pipeline full enough to say, all right, I can let go of you and know that like I'll find somebody else very, very quickly. So if you're not already actively recruiting, that's something that I would do like immediately. So that way it's a lot easier for you to have a full pipeline and say, all right, you know what? I can't improve, I can't get you, let's kick you to the curb and let's get somebody else in the door. And also understanding that, if those guys are B and C players, like, and you feel like you can't develop them, be okay cutting the cord. It's probably seemingly a lot more painful than it actually will be.
Sweet. I remember you mentioned something about being in tech sales and then you were doing part-time. When was that moment when you realized I need to go let go of tech sales?
So I never did, actually. So I was 2020, I joined coaching and started wholesaling a whole lot in San Diego. And I listened to a quote from like Jim Rohn saying like, make more money in your part-time job than you do your full-time job. And I was like, okay, I like that. And so I got pretty close. I was doing like just under $250 a year in tech. I was making like $160 wholesaling. And I really was passionate about building businesses though. Like that's what I was like really excited about. I was like, I love wholesaling real estate, but it's not necessarily like the end all be all for me. And I don't think it should be for any of you. I think the goal is to wholesale, flip, make a lot of money, and then eventually like do other things within the real estate industry, right? So unless you want to just be a cash business, which is great too. Like, don't get me wrong. But the point is that I never let go. And when I was talking to Ryan, I was like, dude, like, what should I do? What should I focus on? Like, I'm not super passionate here. I really like this thing. I could go be like a VP of sales. I could go do something else in the tech world. Hope I work with the right company. We do a big public IPO. I make a cash out, whatever, right? That was kind of the path that I was going to end up on. But luckily, Ryan was like, hey, I'm building out this parent company. Just do both for me. And that was kind of it. So to answer your question, I never really left. But if you're asking like, when is the right time? It depends, man. What fills your cup up more? What do you want to do? For me, like that was kind of what I enjoy. Like I enjoy doing this stuff. I enjoy building teams. I enjoy working on another business. That's why I make a joke, right? Like I would quit my job almost every year before working for Ryan. And the reason why I haven't quit with Ryan yet is because there's a new thing to focus on every single time. So for me, I get fulfilled here. You just got to figure out what fulfills you.
So for someone that is, well, I guess kind of in the situation you were when you were coming on board, is the Wealthy Investor Program going to maybe help me identify the direction that I would want to start, and then the Wealthy Business will help me with building the structure of it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would stick in, and again, I know you just joined, but Wealthy Investor is going to teach you all the skills to like go build the bit, to go like get your first few deals, go crush it,
Right.
and then after that, once you're ready to start building the business, go to Wealthy Business.
How are you?
Great, Daryl. How are you?
So you've got a lot of moving parts you're dealing with at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the growth plan for Wealthy Investor? How do you kind of create that vision so you don't lose any integrity with all these different companies?
People.
People, but vision. What's your
Yeah,
vision? What's your outlook?
So Ryan and Brian, they're both Mavericks, by the way, in the predictive index, right? So Ryan casts the vision, Brian casts a little bit more vision, and the team goes and executes. The way that we're able to be effective, and again, you saw the slide, I think it was yesterday, where Ryan listed like 10 different new products that we launched. There's a person responsible for all of those. So if Ryan was the only guy casting vision for all those and then like trying to go implement all of them, they would all fail, right? But we have people who are focused on each business division who that's all they think about, right? And so that's what allows him to start all these things, because we have good people who can go drive the vision down and like execute. I got time for a couple more questions. So let's, in the back.
What's up, Bobby? Do you guys have a list of all the profiles that match up with a particular job?
Yeah.
Like,
So in the predictive index, you can base it based on like I'm hiring like an admin type role, or I'm hiring like a sales type role, and then it'll say like how closely it matches to what you're hiring for, right? And then and eventually you get pretty intuitive. You're like, okay, promoter, social person, that's probably a good sales guy. Controller, probably a good analyzer, probably a good admin. So, but yeah, to answer your question, in the predictive index, if you put like, it'll tell you what this person's like more predisposed to. All right, last couple, if there's anything.
Recruiting, you have your core values, it sounds like you state them pretty early.
Mhm.
How do you weed out somebody who says, oh yeah, faith, I'm a Playfair guy, versus somebody who's saying they have to get a job versus who's really...
Yeah, I mean, I asked, before I list ours, I asked them point blank, I'm like, hey, what are your core values? And then if they don't have any, then we know for sure that's a bad hire. Usually what ends up happening is like, oh, hard work and dedication, or something kind of generic, which is great. Like at least they give me something. But that's where like I spend more time in the interview process. Like, tell me about a time that if I'm hiring a customer success person, tell me about a time that you dealt with a hard situation, a hard customer, and they'll kind of list it out. And so it tells me that they care, they don't care. So it's just asking more detailed questions after the initial process. So like I ask them point blank, hey, what are your core values? What do you value? And then from there, like if I get something, then I bring them in for the interview and we ask some more pointed questions in the actual interview. Cool, last one.
Where are you guys running your ads to attract talent?
Um,
Found the most success?
Cool, so I mean, obviously Ryan's social is huge for us, but in LinkedIn, Indeed, we have a Pineda company website where people can go apply as well. Let's see, so like our payroll software blasted out to like 3 different sites, Rippling, and then so they're able to just do it for us. So off the top of my head, I know like the biggest driver's been LinkedIn, just because that's where like a lot of people are. And honestly, anytime I've had like a higher level role, I'm like headhunting. So again, what's helped out for us too is like my background in sales. So I'm like, and I've worked at a lot of places, so I know what to look for. So I'm the one like going in, and like a lot of our sales managers I've pulled from other places and like plucked them. So that's another good tip for if you're looking for like A+ players. Those A+ players already have a job. So you got to go to your biggest competitors and go seek them out. It happens to us a lot. People come try to poach our people a lot of the time. But hopefully we fill their emotional paycheck, they feel fulfilled, hopefully they're getting paid well, and they want to stay. So that's another thing too. You want to make sure that your team feels fulfilled. So I think we mentioned it earlier with like personal goals. We have admins, we have other people on staff who, you know, have bought their first few houses, have 4 doors, 6 doors. They're very successful in real estate, but they like to stay with us because they like the mission. They're emotionally fulfilled. So that's one big thing that you guys got to think about too. But cool, thanks guys, appreciate it.
How are you deciding when you actually get the contract, whether it's a flip or a wholesale?
Gotcha. So our rule is the flip profit has to be 3 times the wholesale fee. If it's not, we wholesale it.
I'm pretty new to this, but what is novation?
Okay. Novation is a substitution of contract. I hate using the word net listing because that's not what it is, but it's similar to that. So what we do, it's basically like an equitable interest listing. So what we do, seller doesn't want to do the cash offer, they don't want to do a listing, we do the novation for them. So what we do, we can always offer more. It's basically wholesaling on the MLS, but it's a lot more paperwork. So we get interest in the property through affidavit of contract. We get that signed, notarized, recorded with the county. We market the property on the MLS. Once we have a qualified buyer, what we do then is get an novation agreement signed, basically stating, hey, we're selling our interest to this third-party buyer. Our original contract is now terminated. Now it's an A to C close, and then it just closes like a normal transaction. So you can offer more. Like, if you want to talk to me after, I'll go more deeper, so I don't want to go too crazy with it right now.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
So I'm a fix and flipper here in town, and I want to launch my PPC campaign. I've never done any of this, so if I call a seller like, well, none of these you want to do, I want to do novation. As an all-star student, can I JV with HRO and?
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
And then, will you guys train me too? Because I don't know much about novation.
Yeah, of course.
And then get the contract.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Thank
Yep.
you.
Just see me afterwards.
All right.
I saw a few hands in the back. Yep.
So I see your home run offer, right? So the customer, you know, that's what he wants. Are you guys typically giving the best price, or are there people that would actually give a higher price for the homeowner?
Gotcha. So, I mean, as everyone knows, someone's always going to pay more. But like I said, that's why we set the appointment, because we're there now, contract's there. It's like take it or leave it. But we're pretty aggressive with pricing. That's why we set the appointment. So we've seen the house, we've taken the photos, we know the work it's going to take. Like, my sales guys are sharp, so like we know right there that's our best price, and but like we build good enough rapport, so it usually works out.
I see most guys consolidating their teams because of the market shifting at the moment. Is that what you guys are doing, or are you still expanding and doubling down, or how are you doing things?
Yeah, we've actually just onboarded 3 new people. So yeah, I mean, our team, I should have broken it down, but our team, I'm at the top. I've got 2 setters, 2 closers, 3 leads managers, a VA, and 2 project managers. And then me at the top. Like, I literally answer any question you want. I literally will. I've done it all, so yeah.
So for some of the newer members in the room that, you know, maybe don't have a brokerage or real estate, obviously listing at the bottom would be off the table, right? They would have to have a partner or somebody that they could.
Yeah, you'd have to, obviously, we refer it out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we split it 50-50 with the commission.
So you have just some relationships that you would establish with some realtors that then you give them that lead and there's an understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're solo in Vegas, you're almost, and in the program, you're almost kind of competing against like all of the things that you guys are doing. What would you suggest as like the first entryway for someone that doesn't have all those resources?
Exactly. So, yeah, that's how I started. I would just get, honestly, I mean, you can get a VA for $2.50 an hour. Data's pretty cheap right now. Okay. And I would just have them call, 30 to 90 days and just work those leads. Because like your marketing budget's gonna be super low, maybe $500 a month at first. So get some capital, then dabble into different marketing channels. Because what I see new people do is like, I want to run PPC ads, I want to run TV, I want to run texting, cold calling. It's like, no, stick to one thing, master it, then go to the next one.
So when you're saying call out, like where are those like leads coming from? Like where do you get those?
So you could buy, I mean.
Yeah. Are those things you learn in the program?
So as part of the program, you get access to wealthy deals.
Right, got it.
So that's where you can find people that are more interested in selling.
Sure.
And then from there, we have Pineda data. We give you all of our students 5 cents a skip pinedadata.com. The link is in school, and so that and then you can collect the rest of the data.
There you
We
go.
don't market it by the way, to Pineda Data. That's just for our students.
Mm. Yeah, it's like 5 cents a skip. We were paying like 10 cents at one point, so it's a good deal.
So I noticed in like your process down, so from cash offer, and then it was a subject to before novation. What would be the purpose of that? Just liability?
It's just for us, like novation's usually like our last resort because it's almost like a back pocket thing where it's like we have this. We never say novation either. We say equity protection program, and then yeah, usually that's like when the seller's eyes open because they get more for the property. They don't. They're super hands off. We handle the whole transaction for them. So yeah.
Commission structure for you guys, targets, what you kind of pay as a rate to each of the guys in the different roles and the targets.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, because we do pay a lot, so if they set the appointment for the appointment guide, setters make 5%, closers make 10%. Setter closes over the phone, it's 10%. Yep.
Commission only.
Commission only.
There you go. Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you, for some of the newer guys, I think it was difficult for me to understand at first. Can you explain the difference between why you would move from something like Sub 2 to Novation because of the difference in the buyer of that product?
Gotcha. So with the creative finance, a lot of people don't want to do it. And then like, obviously if you guys are familiar with Sub 2, like you have to build that trust with the seller of like taking over their mortgage, making the payments every month. Like it's a lot of blind faith. With Novation, it's a one-stop shop. We handle the whole thing for them. You make more money. You get your money, 30 to 90 days. Sub 2, sometimes you got to keep the loan in place for the full term, 5 to 10 years. Novation, they're cashed out, like I said, 60 to 120 days. Like I like Sub 2 too. We just did one. We have one closing day. We're gonna make 75 grand on. So, yeah. I'll answer anything.
I got another question. Can you break down the $600 something per lead and the $5,600 per contract?
Yeah. So that's just it's based off marketing spend. So that's 30 deals off the marketing spend. We spend $55K a month. 30 deals, it's like 5,600 and change. 232 qualified leads gets you to 626 per cost per lead. So just the breakdown of spend right now. We're 40K TV, 15 PPC.
Is there higher margins on specific ones?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, cash offer is ideal for us because that's going to close, in 10 to 14 days wholesale. That's a wholesale for us. Creative finance, it just depends what you guys come to terms on, what you agree on. So it's just different. Depends on the deal size, the deal spread, what their mortgage is, what the rents are, how much equity's in the house. So it's kind of different with creative finance. Novations, those have been honestly our biggest spreads this year, just because when you're marketing to the MLS, you're getting a traditional buyer paying market value. So you're gonna have like the biggest spreads there. It's just getting the seller to agree to that and how you pitch it. Like our first novation, we made 101,000 on. So the spreads are there. Yeah. And then obviously listing is like the last resort. Like I hate listings. I hate them. I used to be a realtor, it's the worst. But like I said, cost per lead's that high, you gotta make money somewhere.
Do you ever do any improvements or clean outs on any of the novations?
No. We say we will, but I like to give credit. It's just easier, less liability for us. And then, like I said, if you're doing the rehab, say the deal falls apart, loan contingency, runs out, they cancel, then you're out the rehab amount. So I'd rather just give a credit.
On the novations, how do you deal with like the seller finding out is there any rollback on your part for that?
We tell them right on the appointment, hey, this is what we're doing. If you're cool with it, good. If not, it is what it is. So yeah, we're extremely upfront. Like we're not like, we tell them, hey, you're gonna see a fee at the end. You're gonna sign these documents. It's all notarized. It's all laid out. It's like they know exactly what the deal is.
And how do you schedule showings and inspections when somebody takes the
So yeah, we set the stage with the seller. So we're like, hey, people are gonna have to come through here. What days work for you? We try to get a time frame because it's just easier, especially if they're still living there. We don't want to inconvenience them, but yeah, we know like, hey, retail buyers are coming through. What days work for you? We get a time frame. We just tell agents, hey, this is the time frame. Deal with it.
So I guess on the novation, how do you, just a basic, how do you pitch that idea? Why would they rather go with you guys rather than just go with a realtor and list them?
Yeah. So I mean, You'd be surprised. I don't know what it is the last few years, but realtors have just gotten a bad rap. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if you guys have seen some of these companies doing like 40-year listing agreements, holding sellers hostages. We're dealing with like 3 of them right now, but yeah, you'd be surprised. People just want to be hands off, and it's a service we provide. So it's like they don't have to sign docs. We sign docs for them with power of attorney. They don't have to schedule photos. We do all that. We pay for it all. So it's just a service we provide.
And also following up that question, how do you pitch that idea to the listing agent that you're gonna do that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Listing somebody else's property.
Yeah, we still sign listing docs, so it's a legit listing, and we have an in-house guy that does all of ours for us. So, yeah.
So you guys only do inbound marketing, right?
Mm.
Some of the strategies is the one that yields the best results for you guys.
TV. Yeah, TV's like, TV.
That's the most expensive one.
Yeah, most expensive. So we're spending $40,000.
Which will be the second one?
PPC. Yeah, we text and cold call too, just like to give my leads manager something to do, just like convert leads. But like, if you guys know, like those are the ones that take 7, 8, 9, 10 phone calls to get someone back on the phone and build that rapport. We get a live TV call, we can convert same day. Like that's the person saw the TV commercial. Literally, they know what they want to sell, and they're just ready to go. They know what the deal is.
You just do it here locally, or?
Yeah, just Vegas.
Have you tried YouTube ads?
It's been brought to us, but our demographic is 55 plus. Like, I don't know how many elder people are watching YouTube on the daily basis. We buy Wheel of Fortune, Judge Judy, that stuff. So that's our demographic, you know. That's what we do.
I saw the commercial this morning. It's a great commercial.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna run it till the wheels fall off. Anyone else?
What about radio?
We dabbled. We thought about radio, but it's just, man, TV works. We're getting a 7x return on it, so it's like, why stop? Like, why fix it if it's not broken? You know? Yeah.
Are you doing so you're doing Google and Facebook?
Yeah. Just Google.
Just Google.
Yeah, no Facebook for us. We let wealthy investor do the Facebook ads.
Could you walk through like a real example of how much the Airview would be, what your initial cash offer would be, and then how kind of go down that list?
Okay, so I'll break down the one that we have closing today. We do, anyone that's in the Vegas market knows it's like every deal is a deal by deal basis. So it's like whatever, like the side of town, you know, the area, the size of the house. But like, I'll just give you the general breakdown. Like the one we have closing today, it was a $295 purchase price, 420 ARV. We put literally $3,000 into the house, and we got a full price offer at $399 in 3 days. Yeah, yeah. That's I'll buy that shit all day. Yeah, no, that's sub 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we put 30K down. Yeah, so like, I mean, my big thing right now is like, if you guys are in real estate, like interest rates are high right now, so you need to be buying affordable housing. Like we'll buy $399 under all day. Our 500K plus stuff has been sitting. So, I mean, that's like a $4,500 payment. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. What I see is, because I look at the numbers every day, what's selling, 400K and under is selling. It's affordable. It's your first time home buyers. They don't care about the interest rate. They want to buy a fucking house, you know, and they want to live there. And that's what we'll buy all day, because that's the stuff that moves. Like they said, they don't care about flooring. They literally want to just move into their first home and do the repairs themselves. So, and like I said, I love to list under market value too. Like I said, that deal we sold today, we probably could have got $420 for it, but I listed $399 to be aggressive, and like I said, it's sold in 3 days. So, yeah. Thank you.
Can you tell us how you structure the subject to deal with that transaction?
Yeah, the one we just closed. Yeah, so like I said, they called the TV commercial. Initially, they wanted a cash offer, and like I would have flipped it all day. So with the sub 2, the way we structure it is because, you know, as you know, when you get a hard money loan, you got to pay prepaid interest. You have origination fees. With the sub 2, we just put 30K down, took over their mortgage, put on the market, and sold it with less fees out of pocket. So, yep.
So you sold it as a wrap?
No, just sold it traditionally. Yeah.
You double closed though?
No.
Oh, you did?
No.
So you got
We just literally took over the mortgage in our name and sold it.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Did you have to pay them out anything, the seller? Or?
Yeah, so we had an agreement. So like I said, our agreed purchase price was $295. Their loan balance was like $160. So we're gonna have to pay them after we close W9 them. So.
I got a question on that. So when you gave them the $30,000, was that money that you guys spent, or did you get another private money investor?
No, we use our own money on that one. Yeah. Yeah, you could do private money too to like basically front that, but I was like, why would I pay 18% when the spread's so big and I know it's gonna sell? So yeah. I will literally answer any question.
Just curious, in that same deal, does the person who sold it to, did they get the sub two passed through to them too?
No, they just bought it traditionally, so it's just gonna close like a normal loan. The lender gets paid out, we get paid, seller gets paid, everyone's happy.
Have you ever messed with that?
What's that?
Have you ever tried that though?
What?
Like to flip agreed finance?
I mean, you could sell the deed, but it's like you're asking someone for a big entry fee. It's like, you know, they'd have to pay, you know, $101,000 out of pocket. So it's, you might as well just get a traditional loan on and sell it to an end buyer.
Is that there's a contract you had with the original seller was for really short term?
Yeah, it was like this one was like a 1 year. Yeah.
For your sales team, can you share the different positions and the KPIs and what those KPIs are?
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Like I said, I have 2 setters, 2 closers. My closers are appointment guys. All they do is go on appointments. Basically, our KPI for them is they need to set 12 appointments a week. We work on a 33% conversion rate, so that should get us 4 deals bare minimum per week. That's what we shoot for. I mean, I know people are big on dials, talk time. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. Your metric is to get 4 contracts. That's it. Yeah, because you know, if anyone has a sales team here, like when you start putting the, you know, dial times and talk times, they just focus on that. It's like you're like stressed about not hitting their metrics. It's like, I don't care. Make 1 phone call, get a deal. I'm happy. You know? Yeah, I hate metrics. I really do. Even I'm a data guy too, and I can't stand like sales guys' metrics. Like, dude, get your 4 contracts, and I'm happy.
So who runs the numbers for the dealers? Is it the closer or is it the setters?
So I analyze. They can do it on their own. If they have a question, then I'll give a second opinion.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. How are we doing on time? Anybody know?
Back when you guys were flipping a lot more, dealing with a bunch of different contractors, was it ever considered or talked about like building a construction division?
Ryan had someone come to him, and I actually offered to buy their construction company, but it's just a lot of work. I feel like they don't make that much money either, especially like in single family. So we just never did. We have like 16 crews that do stuff for us, so just another wrench to throw at us. So,
Okay.
and plus we know nothing about construction, so.
What does your flip to wholesale ratio look like currently with the market?
Got you. So yeah, we bought everything under the sun last year, and obviously market shifted, so we kind of got caught with, you know, material costs going up, labor going up, or supply chain issues. So this year we bought 6 deals this month, but we try to wholesale. Like I said, the first extra strategy is wholesale. Like I said, if the wholesale, or if the flip property is 3 times the wholesale fee, we'll keep it. But it's basically like a month by month cases right now. So I don't have like an exact number for you, but it was like we bought everything last year. It was like 70-30 flip. This year it's like 90-10. Yeah.
So acquisitions, you have closer setter. How about dispositions? Do you have multiple roles in there?
I still handle dispositions.
Every single
Yeah,
deal?
every deal.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I literally, my buyers list is like 3 people right now. Like, we got anyone that's in the Vegas market knows how competitive it is. We were having issues with people going around us. I had to sue like 3 agents. I'm 3 for 3, so don't try me. So yeah, I was just tired of suing people. So I was like, I have 3 core buyers. I'm like, hey, this is the price, yes or no.
So you don't do traditional channels, Facebook, investment with, so on?
No, I've built, like I said, I've been doing this for quite some time. So I built I have like 8,000 people in Vegas that'll buy, but like I have, like I said, 3 to 5 guys. I know the price, I know their buy box. They don't ask questions, they close, and we all win. So.
Gotcha. And then is there a typical, so you do it yourself, is there
Yep.
a typical payment for just both?
5%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we pay.
When you say like agents, and I'm totally new, but
Yeah.
agents going around you, what do you mean? Like
So
selling when you?
Yeah, so we would blast deals. Basically, we have the contract with the seller. You know, an agent sees the deals being blasted. It's pretty competitive right now. They go direct to the seller. Hey, they're trying to send your deal out. I can get you more by listing it. They sign a listing agreement, then I sue them.
They've already signed with you. At that point.
They signed with us first.
So if someone already has like a real estate agent and their house is up there, let's say it's been there for, I don't know, like a long time, and do they have the opportunity to get to work with you guys if they see a commercial and they're already?
Yeah, so if they're locked in, we back off.
Got
So
it.
like, yeah, if they already signed the listing agreement, I won't go after it.
Got it. So
Yeah.
just people that are probably not like actively listed
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, so we're direct to seller. So yeah.
When you're hiring acquisitions guys, obviously you look for a sales profile, training them on like what their offer should be, which way they, like how much every house, because I know every house is different, every market is different, for which they're gonna be offering. Do you train them on all of that, or is there someone overseeing that they ask like, hey, where's my offer on this one? Where's my offer on this one?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, like they have free range. Like my sales guys have been here. One's been here for 5 years. One's been here for 4. Like one of my top closers, it's a girl. She's been here for 3. So like they have free range. If they need help, they ask me for a second opinion. Like they're pretty sharp. So
that sub 2 offer that you sold, was the interest rate pretty high?
it was 4.75. Yeah.
If you wrap that, can you sell it at a higher price?
Probably could have, but I'd rather make $75,000 right now.
I'm new. What's this for?
It's the person who sells all our wholesale deals. So like, yeah, so say we get a contract, they send me the contract, I sell the contract to another investor. Yeah.
So you talk about cost per lead and per contract. What is the trend? Like you said where you are today, but is that going up or is it starting to go down?
I mean, we used to hover around like 350, but obviously because we're going to quarter 4 right now, there's less leads, so we're still spending the same amount, so the cost is going to go up. It's always like that in quarter 4. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, guys, give it up for mine.
Started to, yeah. I mean, we transitioned over. We transitioned from. I have a call center. We transitioned from her taking the deals or, like, the sellers who were coming in from cold calling setup to her actually talking to them, and she was taking a long time to make an offer, and yesterday. In one of the sessions, it hit me that I need to like forget everything and keep making 5 offers a day, 10 offers a day, whatever that is. And I'm like, okay, I went back to her and I'm like, okay, we are changing everything. We need to make 5 offers a day, start with that, and then eventually grow to 10 and 20. So she made 2 offers today and we're trying to figure out how to grow.
Okay.
That's where it's at.
Got it. Okay, so the other thing is going to be qualification. So if you're actually qualifying this person up front too, because just throwing out offers, saying that you need 3 to 5 offers a day, what if the people weren't ready for an offer? Right. Then you just lost your chances at that point. So you might be trying to achieve an outcome that's not actually what you need to. What you need to do is make sure that you continue to follow up and wait until they're ready for an offer, or try to pull out a number from them. So are you in the sales training on Wednesdays at all?
On and off.
Okay, on and off. Bring them there too, because that's the thing is like, whenever I'm doing sales training on Wednesdays, guys, I'm showing you from start to finish all the way through. That does not mean that every phone call is going to go start to finish. If you're cold calling somebody, the odds of you closing that deal and locking that deal up are like 1 in 1,000. You're not just going to call somebody and then by the end of the call of a 10, 15-minute phone call, you're then going to get a contract. What's usually going to happen is you're going to find out more about their situation, more about their timeline, about the price that they want. You're going to find out the key motivating factors that you need to find out. Then you plug that in the CRM, then you make sure. I like to find out what price they actually want and help them to make better decisions. But at the end of the day, to make 3 to 5 offers every single day, you're going to have a huge funnel because it all starts, okay, you're going to have a big funnel here and then it's going to go down. So I would say in order to get that, you're going to have to have more leads, you're going to have more people doing it. If you really want to do 3 to 5, work it the other way instead of just like, all right, I'm just going to go make offers to people who are ready. Because if you just sit there and like lowball people who weren't even ready for an offer, all you're going to do is actually cancel everybody who is actually a qualified lead. They're like, oh, dude, that guy just lowballed me, because they weren't even ready to make a decision, regardless of if you gave them the right price.
So when can I make an offer? Like, I guess I go back to my original thought process of analysis paralysis. Okay, I need to follow up with this person. I need to make sure they're qualified. I need to make sure they're ready to get an offer. So how do I know that, okay, this person is ready to make an offer?
It's going to be following the sales script. So in the sales script, what I ask is like, hey, if we were to give you the right price, I mean, what would be your next steps? And like, make sure they're ready. So if I was able to give you the right price, you're ready to move forward, well, I'd have to figure this, and this out. Okay. Again, I go throw out a hypothetical then. Okay, so if this gets figured out, then you'd be ready to move forward. If it's something that you could solve there, that means they're ready for it. And again, I still like to find out what number they want without you throwing out an offer. So I don't like to throw out an offer until they are ready to make a decision to move forward. but I will still ask them, you know, hey, just out of curiosity, how much were you hoping for? Most of the time they're not going to tell you. And so if you guys are on the sales calls, what we say then is you're going to find out, okay, well, what are other properties in the area selling for? Oh, I think they're going for $250. At that point, now they threw out a number. You got a tangible number there, because a lot of people like to talk in generalities. And then once you get something specific, now they gave you a number. Now you're like, okay, so were you hoping for around the same amount, or were you, so you can find out what they want and not having to give an offer. I'm not going to give an offer until they are ready to move forward. It doesn't make sense to give them an offer until they're ready to make forward. And if you explain that to them, they're like, that makes sense. You can give them a range in order to pull out the number they want, which is something that I go over in sales training. That's when you have to be pretty dang good, because you have to control the conversation. Because if you're going to give them a range and you're going to give them an offer and a low ball, they're going to get pissed off. So you have to control the conversation as well. So I would say don't do that in the beginning. Just teach your VA in order to pull out their number that they want. Find out their motivation. You then have more time to underwrite the deal and actually get a legitimate offer, because you already know all the motivation. You already know everything that they want to accomplish. And they can explain that to them. Hey, I'm definitely going to get you an offer, but at this point I need to know a little bit more about like what you're wanting to accomplish, because if you're not the right fit for them, then that's okay too. So hopefully that helps.
Yep.
Yeah, come to sales training, dude.
I will.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Let's give them a round of applause. So if you can structure an offer in order to where you set the proper expectations though too. So if you need to back out, just set that as an expectation. So what I always say is create an offer to where the uncertainty, you can let them know your uncertainty, and then structure your offer around that uncertainty. So let's just say hypothetically, I'm like, man, this rehab is freaking insane. So I don't know how much it's going to cost in order for me to repair this. So what you say is, you know, I'll be honest, like, you know, that price seems a little bit high compared to the rehab that I'm seeing. I'm not sure how much it's going to cost. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and we'll lock it into the price that you agreed to, even though it's a little bit higher than what I really feel comfortable with. And then I'm just going to get a contractor in here so I can get exact numbers so we can decide if we continue to move forward. Is that fair? And they're like, I would say 90% of the time, yeah, that sounds good. Then you have a contingency. You set proper expectations of why it's okay for you to renegotiate or back out at that point. So for us to say that we're going to give somebody a price and then not honor that, we will not do it. And I don't care what the paperwork says. We had a sales guy one time. The paperwork did not say the contingency or anything like that, but he told them that they could back out if they wanted to. I'm like, all right, dude, what we tell a customer, what we tell somebody is what we're going to honor. I don't care what the paperwork said, what they're legally bound to. If we told them something, that's what we're going to honor. So set the proper expectations for whatever uncertainty that you have. You can structure the offer in order to make sure that you still feel safe.
A lot of these conversations are direct to seller, but what about like building a network of real estate agents and other divorce attorneys, etc.? What sales scripts or concepts, or besides I'm a cash buyer, you know, can you walk through some of those general cold call or business opportunities?
Not really. No, I cannot. So I don't go direct to agent at all. So we go direct to seller. That's how we bought all of our deals. I really don't have a great script or walkthrough or anything like that. So if I sat here and act like I knew, then I'd be lying to you guys. I've done a lot direct to seller. Perfect. Yes. Oh, there we go. This is the main part.
You get a little everything. You got the direct to seller guys and you got the MLS guys. So just a little bit about us. We flip houses here in Vegas. My cousin Jesse and I have done over about 450 flips in town, and we've bought probably 95% of those directly off the MLS from agents. So like that's our main acquisition source. We do direct to seller, but not as heavy as we offer to agents. So when it comes to submitting offers for agents, you know, it's not as much of a cold call as it is submitting a true offer and asking the right questions. There's a lot of people who will go around and text agents, hey, is your client willing to take $700,000 via text? Or just calling them and saying, hey, I see you're listed at, $500, would they take $400? Really in our minds, the wrong way to go about it. The way we do it is we identify a potential deal, we evaluate the deal, run it through our calculators. We know our construction costs for the most part. We can look at the photos and do a really good judgment on it. We're gonna call that agent and go through a couple questions, right? First question we're gonna ask them is, one, do you have any offers on the property? how's the activity thus far? Right? It's going to give you a level of how much competition am I up against on this property. The second question is, what terms are most important to your sellers? Super important. Most investors or most rookies will think that a cash offer with a 10-day close is the magic offer as an investor, right? Good example, last week I just locked a deal up. It was listed at 440. I got it at 410. There was multiple offers on it, but we won because I called the agent, I built rapport, and I asked the right question as to what's most important. What was most important to that seller was a 45-day free lease back after the close of escrow. So you offer them a 10-day close, that is the worst nightmare for that seller. So we asked that question, what's most important? What terms are most important to the seller? Because it's not always price, which is what everyone thinks. Terms are super important as well. Then we asked, is there anything about this property that we can't see in the photos, right? Because then they're gonna start telling you, well, you know, the pool hasn't been maintained in a while, so I don't know how the pool and pool equipment is. Okay, for me, one, we're gonna add that to our calculations, but when I go back and when I submit the offer, I could go talk about that again, right? Hey, you mentioned the pool, we went and looked at it, it does need a plaster, so that's why our offer is where it is, we have to plaster the pool, or the roof, or the windows, or what have you. The AC units don't work. Okay, great. Can't see that in photos, but now I know when you go back to the agent, you're gonna have a lot easier time getting a deal accepted because they told you that information and you have to use that when calculating the rehab costs, right? So those are really the main questions that we ask. Then we submit the offer, and then we follow up. Same as direct to seller, right?
Yep.
So many times people say, well, MLS doesn't work. I go, well, how many offers are you submitting? First off, and we'll talk about this later, way too low of an amount. We submit 300 offers a month, and we're buying about 6 to 8 deals. So just like direct to seller, how many calls are your guys making a month, or how many leads are you hitting a month to get a deal? It's probably a very high volume compared to the return.
Yeah, they're usually texting somewhere around like 4,000 to 5,000 cold text in a day, and then obviously that goes to follow. That's what I mean, the funnel is insane.
Yeah, so then the second downfall I see a lot with students is they'll get an offer rejected and consider that a dead deal. Probably 70% of the deals we buy were rejected up front, but we followed up with the agent. It goes in and out of contract. If it goes in and out of contract, that becomes a way better deal for us, right? Because they already just lost. The seller just, felt a loss. The agent just felt a commission loss. Now everyone becomes way more desperate, and it becomes better for us. So if we let that rejection go and we consider it dead, we lose a lot of the deals that we buy. So the follow-up is key. The amount of offers you're submitting is key. But going back to the initial response to your question is, we build rapport with the agents by asking important questions. We figure out what's most important to the seller. And every offer we submit comes with an executed RPA, a proof of funds, and a cover letter from our company talking about who we are, what we do, how many deals we've done, and what we intend to do with the property. So they feel like it is a very real offer. They get an offer from us like that versus an offer that's just a text message of will your seller take this amount? Who looks more professional? Who's more serious? Who are they going to call back? Probably us, right? So, question over here.
Yeah, so you say you're 90%, working with MLS leads.
Yeah.
And you're submitting about 300 offers a month.
Uh-huh.
Now, are you only walking? Like, how many of those? You're never walking them. You're just.
So we're not walking 300 a month. We're walking the ones that either the seller says, hey, they have you seen it? I'd like you to see it before submitting the offer, which comes with, good thing we called them, right? And asked those questions and got that information that they want us to see it. Or ones that we really feel really good about. We love the house and we just need to go do some more investigating to put our deal together because we really want to attack it. Those are the ones we walk. Everything else is, we can see the photos, we know our numbers, we could run the deal, we could run the comps. We're having conversations with the agents, and that's where we submit.
Yeah,
got one thing I want
Yeah.
to say on that. So that's very similar to what we do too. We will lock up a deal over the phone if it's there, and then we just put a contingency on there for the walkthrough, probably very similar to your inspection. So you're pending inspection. So if they accept the offer, or if we're within, like for us in our area, if we're within like $20,000 of a deal, again, then we're like, hey, you know what? Let's move forward to this contingent on the walkthrough. Again, I'm giving proper expectations. So whenever I go in there and I'm like, hey, this is different than what you talked about over the phone, which I would say about 95% of the time it is different than what they talked about over the phone, it then makes sense of why we can renegotiate on the deal that we did. So just have a contingency in there, which I'm sure you do on the inspection, so then you go and walk it at that point.
So so currently in that position, right? My strategy is on market, and they rejected the offers because I'm lowballing them. So then when you go back, how do you go about trying to motivate the seller or try to follow up with them and try to classify them like, well, they don't want to take the lowball offer. Now what do I do? Now what strategy do I use? And then second, when you call the agents, do you always just have them represent you as the buyer and the seller, or you always bring on another agent that you've been working with?
Yeah, so we have agents in our office. So we own a brokerage, so we have agents that are licensed and they submit for us, so they represent us.
And I was like, I don't have an agent, I just...
Right, so you could have one from another office. Couple strategies. One, we are talking to listing agents a lot more and letting them represent us and saying, hey, we'll give you both sides.
Okay.
Obviously very motivating for a listing agent to start pushing your deal if they're representing both sides of it. When it comes to the commission side, we just tie that into our calculations. So, that's what we do.
And then when the offer gets rejected, how do you go about, going back?
Yeah, so, as we know, like when a seller sits on the market, they become more and more desperate over time, right? For someone, what I love about the MLS is for someone to list their home on the market,
They're motivated.
They're very motivated. It's a big process for a seller to get to listing their home. So instead of having to do 6, 10, 12 touches on follow-up to determine how motivated a seller is with direct-to-seller marketing, we know every seller on the MLS has a motivation to sell, right? Because they've gone through the process already. That's why it's listed. So if we submit an offer and it's rejected and it's still on the market 3 weeks later, we're calling that agent back. Hey, you're still on the market 3 weeks later. We're still on the table. Where are we at?
Can you do an ovation when it's listed?
No,
right?
No.
Okay.
Because you already have another agent involved. 60 days later, 90 days later, same thing. If it goes in and out of contract, same thing. Like we see all of this. So this is where all of our follow-up comes into play. And we will start negotiating a little bit. If we love the deal and it's rejected up front, we'll start talking about commissions, or we'll come up on our price a little bit. And as we see it go, there's just certain touch points in a listing where we know motivation gets higher. If it's sitting on the market 30 days, a little bit more desperate. 60 days, they're getting there. 90 days. And then one good thing is you can check on the MLS when those listing contracts are about to expire as well. So last thing the listing agent wants to do is lose the listing and not get paid on it before their listing expires. So hitting them really hard, like, hey, you're gonna lose this no matter what in a couple weeks because you're not selling the house. They're probably gonna be mad at you at this point, probably gonna wanna move on.
And I guess that's when you go back and try to talk to the seller and find the reason, what's most important to them. If your offer got rejected, that's when you find out what the true motivation is and what's most important overall.
Right, you're just asking more questions. You're trying to build rapport the entire time. That's the key with the agents, because agents can be a big roadblock as well. So sometimes, like if we feel like we submitted an offer and it didn't get to the sellers and they go, nope, rejected, not gonna happen, I'll request a signed rejection from the sellers on it, because legally you got to supply me with a signed rejection to show that you presented my offer.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you go about that? Because I lowballed them, and they're like, "Dude, they're not gonna take that." I'm like, "Can you at least, isn't it like?"
I said, "Okay, cool. Send me a signed rejection, please."
Okay. Then you do that, because like, how do you know that they?
I don't do it every time, but sometimes I push that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm not a flipper, I'm mainly buy and hold, and I go through the MLS. A lot of my business has been through referrals. I've been doing this for years, and I'm not where I need to be. I've worked with the same agent for 20 years, and sometimes I feel like she does the whole roadblock thing, cause I have, she always tells me, well, they don't wanna go that low, they want their price. I recently told her to be open to doing seller financing, and she messed up the deal for me last week.
Yeah.
So, what do you suggest other than?
I'd suggest find someone who's willing to
Exactly.
play your game.
Find a new agent.
You know, that's just the bottom line. You know, find a new agent that's willing to be aggressive and motivated to get deals done for you. That's what you need. So, even though it's a 20-year relationship, just like Javi said earlier, hey, if our values change or we're not in alignment on my business model versus your comfort level of handling my business, I'll find someone who is.
Yeah, cause I actually looked at one of your properties the other day,
Oh,
last
okay.
week.
Which one?
And, the one, it's a corner lot, with a pool on, right by the airport.
Oh, okay.
Off of
Oh,
Hudson.
Mapleton.
Yes, Mapleton.
You wanna buy it?
I do.
Okay. Mine fell out of contract, so talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so how do you guys make sense of a deal? Like, how much spread do you guys look for when you want to do a flip?
So when we do a flip, and this changes every week, honestly, but just based off competition, market, where we're at, strategy. You know, we're literally meeting with our team now every single week to talk about like where do we got to be to get deals done, how much do we want to make. Right now, we might have to make less. Super competitive out there. So we were sitting with my team earlier today. It's like, hey, we might have to honestly, you know, just take thinner deals right now because, you know, and just flip them as fast as possible because that's where we're at. But our key right now is under 500K. We want to make with solid supporting comps. Like, hey, we have 3 comps on this deal. We want to make 25K on it. Because with that, I could list it 20K higher and maybe make 50K on it. But I know worst case scenario, we're going to make 25K on it under 500. 5 to 750, same thing, but I want to make 50K. 750 plus, I want to make 10% cash on cash return with supporting comps.
I'll talk about
Yeah.
ours too. So ours is way different because man, I keep turning this thing off, I think. But we're in Indiana. So our minimum profit is 30,000. And that's just like the starting basis. I actually just made a new spreadsheet for our sales guys just to make it easier for them. So we will make a minimum of 20 if it's very, very easy. If it's like paint, carpet, and the rehab is below $15,000, all right, we'll go down to 20,000. But we really don't like to. And then if a rehab is above $50,000, then we add 5,000. So now we're gonna make a minimum of 35,000. If the purchase price, dude, we're very conservative, which you'll tell here based on like your numbers. So if the purchase price is above, if the purchase price is above 200,000, then we're gonna add another $5,000. So it goes from 30 to 35. If the purchase price is above 300,000, we're gonna add 10. So that's on top of the other 5. So our minimum profit is gonna be 45. So yeah, when it all averages out, kind of like what Landon talked about, is we go based on minimums, we go based on the comps, and we go based on like what is basically guaranteed to happen. So like based on all the information that we see, this is the best shot that I have, and then we might be guesstimating low. So while our minimum is 30,000 on all of our flips, our average for the year is like right around 40 to 45. Yeah. Because again, we're conservative on our ARVs, we're conservative on the rehab, we're conservative on all of this stuff. So make sure you're not too conservative that you lose deals, because then you're losing opportunity costs. But at the same time, like you want to get it as close as you possibly can. And I was talking to somebody actually earlier, and I think this might be helpful for you guys too. She's like, I just don't know if I should back out of this deal or I should stay in it or not. I'm just like being very indecisive about it. I'm like, okay, well, what makes you think that? Like, well, I'm not really sure. I'm like, okay, well, she knew the ARV. She's like, oh no, the comps, they're good. I'm very confident on the comps. Okay, well, what about the rehab? No, the rehab's good. Like I got the contractor in there. I got quotes. It's solid. Okay, and then I was like, money costs. You know, you having problems getting the money? Nope. Got the private money lender lined up and everything. And I'm like, and what's your profit going to be? 25,000. But I'm just not sure. I'm like, what are you not sure about? It's your first deal. That's what it really comes down to. And you think that you're going to have this certainty. You know, you think you're going to know. Dude, we've done like 200, 300 deals so far. I still am uncertain of how it's going to play out. What I do is I take the information that I have and I make the best decision that I can based on the information that I have. And I know that I'm about 99% accurate, but there's still so much uncertainty every time. So again, I just structure the deal to try to take away as much uncertainty as I possibly can and be as certain as I can. But at the end of the day, you're never going to be 100% because we're in real estate. There's just about a 99% chance that you can do it.
And the deal calculator helps with that?
Yeah, so I put that all in the deal calculator. So yeah, just run your numbers. And then also, so the way that I plug mine in, and everybody plugs theirs in differently, is, you know, I have the minimum profit at 30, and then I go, you know, the rehab costs are, my realtor fees are 3.5% because I have a real estate agent on our team. We go 1% for her, 2.5% on the other side. So yours might be 6. We put 2% for, you know, taxes, insurance, and then for the loan amount, what I do is I take the max offer, add in the rehab. That's basically what the loan amount's going to be. And sometimes we don't even borrow all of that. Our hold time, we put 6 months, and then we put it at 12%, even though we sometimes borrow at 10. I don't care. And then we you know, depending on where you get your money from, put it in the points. But the point is, our average hold time is 4 months. We still put in 6, and if I think if the rehab budget is above $50,000, I'm then gonna bump it to 8. Yeah. Even though I can probably get it done earlier than that, I want to be as conservative as possible and move these numbers around based on the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and we're literally in the same boat. But I think just the caveat to it all is adjusting and looking at it very, very, very often, right? We're constantly adjusting those metrics. We're constantly adjusting our strategy because, like you said, you don't want to lose a deal because you're too conservative. So our numbers from 2 months ago, the way we looked at deals, the way we said yes 2 months ago is very different today. And if we keep buying the same way we did 2 months ago, we're not going to be buying very many houses over the next couple months. So it takes constant adjustment with your team and strategy on what's going on in the market.
What if you can't find good, solid comps, but you know it could be a really good potential flip? What do you do about that?
I go worst case scenario at that point. So
Yeah.
literally I'm just like, so sometimes there's manufactured homes on lakes where I'm from, and there's no manufactured homes.
Yeah.
So then what I do is I go, what do I know this absolutely will sell for? I will look at anything that I got. I'll look at Zillow. I'll look at tax assessed value. I will look at any information I can possibly get, and then I go below it.
Yeah.
Like I just get ultra safe, and then I let them know my uncertainty. It's okay. Like everybody thinks that uncertainty is like this really bad thing. I love uncertainty because and if you guys are in the sales training, you'll know this. The best way to be the best salesperson is to be convicted in your beliefs. I don't need to convince you of anything. I just need to convince you that I believe what I am saying. And when I actually believe it, then I'm able to convey that a lot more. So if I'm like, look, I really don't know because of this, this, and this, and they're trying to tell you, yeah, but this one sold for that. Yeah, I understand, but like, can you find me a comp, you know, that's a manufactured home? Because that's really where I'm struggling right now. And you can let them know the reasons of why. And a lot of times when you can be convicted and like you know that you're uncertain and you convey that, they understand and they're more willing to take a lower price because you're like trying to find a win-win. So that's what's worked out really well for us.
So I'm based out of Atlanta, trying to do flips. Haven't gotten the first deal. What is the best way to gauge rehab costs? Because basically made an offer and then had to back out because once we got to the point of like, you know, the scope of work, like we had to back out and you know, lost the
Yeah. So I think the best thing you could do to start gauging rehab costs, like I know for a fact, my 4 GCs that I have right now on all of our properties, they know we're at $30 a foot for cosmetic rehab. If there's anything where we talk to the agent, they're like, hey, the AC is bad. All right, good. It's $30 a foot plus an AC unit cost. It's $30 a foot plus new windows. Because I know my cosmetic rehab is $30 a foot. That's what it is. If you don't know that yet, what I would do is I would get a couple GCs to start just walking through potential deals that you don't even have locked up, designing them, getting scope of works on them, and start figuring out what your average, like what would you do to this house if you got it with a GC, get a bid from them and start figuring out what your average cost is on those homes. Because you have to know your construction costs if you're gonna buy deals. And if you don't know that up front, you're gonna lose deals because you only have so much time to find a GC, get them in the house, figure out how you're gonna design the house, wait for the bid to come back, and then now you're scrambling to make a decision. It's very difficult to do. And you can make bad decisions that way. So if you don't have any deals right now and construction's a constraint and your cost knowledge is constrained, just start bidding out homes and figure out get a better idea of what it is.
Yep. I would say my favorite thing to do is literally lock it up contingent on that. Make your best guess, because you're gonna have a guess. You'll have an idea. Again, if you're in the ballpark, like let's just say you're 10 grand off, you can go and then explain that back to the seller. Hey, this is actually my first deal. You can be very genuine with them. This is my first deal. I thought that the rehab was gonna be around this. I've got 3 quotes. I cannot find anybody cheaper than that. And so I need to buy it for this. Is that still fair? So you can lock it up contingent on that, on your uncertainty, and then still have them walk that deal. And it makes sense. Hey, this is my first deal. I'm not real certain on the rehab costs, and people understand that. And so that's what I would say is lock it in, have them walk through, and then let them know if it's different than what you got. You can even show them the quotes at that point.
Okay.
I was gonna say something after you too.
Yep.
Okay, cool. One more thing, that was perfect, 100%. Go do that 10 more times, you're gonna see, hey, every time I walk a 1,000 square foot house, it's 100K. I always said it was 50. You can go do the math, figure out what the average is. But really the best way how I learned was calling guys like Landon and being like, hey, can I walk some flips with your project managers, right? Actually finding local flippers and being like, let me go walk some active projects with you, someone on your team, a project manager, and see from them, how much does it cost to do windows? How much does it cost you guys to do floor? Materials, labor, trash out, demo, and start asking those questions. And the best person to learn from, it's not an agent, it's someone else who's actively flipping houses in your market. So that's the fast way. The slow way is go do 10 more walks with properties, with contractors, get quotes, figure out what the average is.
Yeah, I mean, we're all part of a big network now too. I mean, you're in Georgia, you're in Atlanta. Clint, who was on stage earlier, guarantee he knows his construction costs in Atlanta like the back of his hand, right? What? Should I do that presentation?
No.
No.
We're about to do lunch in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So use a network, right? Go in school. Hey guys, I'm in this market. I'm in Atlanta. What are construction costs averaging everyone right now in this particular market? And you're going to get everyone who's in that market responding what their average construction costs are right now. And that's something you could definitely use from some of the higher level people in the program.
Yeah, and I got one last thing on that, because rehab construction costs is very difficult for a lot of people. The other thing too is you could go to somebody who's very experienced. I don't walk properties anymore. I can look at photos and be within $5,000, I would say like 90% of the time. If you tell me, hey, was it sloping? Was it this? What am I not seeing in the photos? And if I understand, I'll ask the seller that, or ask the acquisitions guy. I then know. And so I'll tell you guys a funny story. One time the acquisitions guy, he's basically adjusting the calculator in order to make the deal work. And I could tell he's doing that because I'm like, bro, where'd you get this rehab cost? You put 25. And so what I did is I went to our transaction coordinator who knows nothing about rehab or anything. I'm like, hey, look at these photos. How much do you think it is? It's a 2,000 square foot house. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath. What do you think it would cost to do this? Probably 45. I'm like, okay, cool. I go to the project manager. I'm like, hey, you know, it's a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot. How much do you think this would be? He's like, probably 50. And I'm like, I said 45 was mine. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You knew this was not a $25,000 one. You're just trying to make the deal work. So you can go to other people who are very experienced. They're going to be pretty dang close if they're in your market, in your area. Like the construction costs are going to be different in Vegas than it is in Indiana. So make sure it's somebody who actually knows a little bit, but they'll be able to get you close. You should be within $5,000, I would say.
Well, and just a quick comment on that. I think for me, I struggle more about reducing the scope of work to the minimum possible to get it moving on the market and not overdo it and put some, granite countertop or whatever.
Yep.
Because now you're gonna just not be able to close the deal because your construction costs will be 45 and your competitor will say 25.
Yep.
So you're 20 off,
Yeah, that's a great point. So I don't know if everybody heard him. Did everybody hear him over there? No? Okay. So basically what he talked about is not over fixing a property. And so that's something to evaluate is, let's say that you get somebody else in there and they want to just make this house their own and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do granite, I'm going to do this. Well, do the comps have that? That's what you really have to work it down to. Do the comps have that? And our goal is a lot different than what you guys do with luxury. Our goal is to go in and do the minimum amount possible in order to get the maximum amount. I always tell people, this is a quote that I remember and that I live by, we make the most profitable properties, we don't make the best properties. Now that does not mean that we are gonna hide anything, or if we uncover something that we're not gonna fix it. We are going to fix it. What I mean by that is, again, if the comps are laminate, we're not putting in granite, because you can't really raise you can raise the value, but the appraiser doesn't see it like that. So use the comps, use them to support whatever you have, and something that we learned from this is having the templates. You have different templates based on different areas, different levels, and it makes it easier and faster to make decisions. Like, all right, here we go. I already know what I'm going to do. I already know what the cost is. So when you build all of that stuff out, now you have some variables that are the same every single time. And so then you'll get a better idea about the rehab cost too.
This is a question for Landon. Yeah, back to the MLS.
Yeah.
When you do notice that a listing agreement does expire, do you pursue those like direct to seller?
We're gonna start hitting expireds. I'm not gonna really do it while they're listed, because I think we're gonna have a lot of ethics complaints if we do that. I don't wanna deal with that, but we were talking last night with the team about, hey, expireds, like we should be hitting super, super hard the ones that just expired, because what do they get? They get all the 8 a.m. Berkshire Hathaway agents calling them to try to take their listing, but how many cash buyers are calling saying, look, don't pay another commission to an agent. Don't list it back on the market and have 100 people walk back through your house. We'll buy this thing cash off you right now. What do you know, and then set those appointments as a cash buyer, as a direct to seller appointment.
Right now you're not doing it.
We haven't been doing it, but we're gonna start doing it pretty hard, pretty quick.
Good
idea.
Yeah. Last question.
We got one back here.
And then I think Brian wants us.
You had your hand raised in the green jacket?
Oh, yes. So since you're predominantly just hunting those that have already raised their hand and said, hey, I'm motivated to sell. With the agents in between, are you seeing a lot of opportunity? Are you currently doing anything that's really creative on the creative finance side, or are you just strictly just cash and move on?
We're not doing anything on the creative finance side. No, we're just trying to buy them straight up.
Okay.
Yep.
One more question?
One more, all right.
Do you only flip, or are you starting to wholesale?
No, we wholesale as well. Yeah, and we wholesale off the MLS as well. So like that deal I was talking about earlier with the 45-day lease back, listed at 440, I got it for 410. We sold it off today. It closes for 427.5. So a quick $17,000 wholesale fee. Cost me $0 in marketing. Cost me very little time. So we like doing those. We did about 8 of those this month.
All right, Landon,
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Before you leave.
All right.
A lot of these guys haven't gotten their first deal yet. If you have one piece of advice for someone just trying to get their first deal, what would it be?
If I have one piece of advice trying to get your first deal, God, there's so many subjective answers to this question. I think, going my route, the reason we went MLS is because we didn't have enough money to do direct to seller, and we didn't think that we could spend enough money to compete against the guys like Ryan and Home Run Offer and some of the other big players in town. So I would suggest linking up with a real estate agent, a local real estate agent, right away. I don't think it's in anyone's best interest or best use of time to submit all these offers on your own. You can't build a business submitting offers on your own, but you could find someone to do it for you. So I would find someone right away. It costs you nothing to do it, which is great. They start submitting offers for you right away, and that's going to open your door up to making decisions. You could wholesale those deals that you get locked up. You can flip those deals. You could JV with guys like us on those deals. So if you're in Vegas and you lock stuff up, we will partner and buy anything that makes sense with you. But you got to start finding deals. And the only way to do that is to start submitting offers. And I say use a partner for it because this is Wealthy Investor All-Star. We're not here to be solopreneurs. We're here to scale a business. And the only way to scale the business is to delegate work to other people so that you can focus on income producing activities. So start submitting offers, and a lot of them right away.
Yeah, what I would say is find a marketing source. And so you talked about it being expensive. There's cheap ways to do marketing. So how we started was we literally just put out bandit signs that say we buy houses. Some suggestions with that. One is don't put your phone number down because you can get fined by the city. So make sure it's like a Google number or something else. But if you're in a sales, if you're good at sales, if not, then come to the sales training on Wednesday. We'll get you good at sales. But then what you're doing is you're forcing yourself to then take phone calls from people who are highly motivated. It costs you $1,000 and then you get really highly motivated people. Something else that we have done that's been super successful is direct mail. It does cost a little bit more because you got to pull the list. You have to, send it out and all that stuff. but at the same time, that list is also transferable to texting, to cold calling, to different outreaches. So you can buy the list once and continue to reuse that for marketing. So I always believe that you can get the best deals from direct to seller. Obviously, you've actually showed us that it's possible to get off the market. I did not know that beforehand. In Indiana, I would say it's a little bit more difficult. It's a lot smaller and everybody knows everybody. And they get really pissed if you try to wholesale deal. I've seen some people who have not been successful at it yet. I know it's possible. I've not seen people be able to do it in Indiana. So the best way that we have found is going direct to seller for us. And I'm able to talk to somebody and I'm able to like convey with them the uncertainty that I have. And that's made us it's made us a lot of money just by doing that. So I would say market and put yourself in a position that you gotta help somebody get to the next steps.
Cool. I'll give you guys mine. Like, very similar to them, and it's all thanks to them that I even learned this. If you look at Clint, if you look at Landon, if you look at Dakota, and any business really, it's just organized human effort, right? Your job here is to learn what you need to learn so that you can go back and organize people to get it done, right? It's not your job necessarily to go swing a hammer, fix the house, to make every offer, to lock every property, to do all the paperwork. It's your job to learn how to do it and help someone else do it, right? And for a lot of you who are struggling to get your first deals, you probably need some help, right? Talk to someone else in the program who's struggling. Maybe they've got money and you've got the hunger to go after deals, but you can't get proof of funds. That person can step in and help you there. Go on Investor Lift. If you're looking for wholesalers, there are free deals on Investor Lift right now that everyone can go pull up in their city and their state. Not only see some deals that they can make an offer on right now to buy, but a wholesaler who pays $6,000 a month to use that platform. If a wholesaler's paying that much money, they're probably a pretty active wholesaler. That's a guy you want to get in touch with, build a relationship with, and have him send you deals. So for a lot of you guys, it's not just making more offers, it's how do I get around people who are doing deals so they can start rubbing off on me. Maybe I can get one off them, right? It's people. It's not just everything we teach here is super important, and like Landon said, all the answers are subjective. So what I liked here was you got to hear from Dakota on, hey, if you want to do marketing, you can do it with a small budget. Hey, if you don't want to spend money on marketing, you can go and do the MLS and grind and get deals. Like, you can make 3 to 5 offers a day, Ron. You can do it. It's possible. It sucks right now because you haven't done 100. After you've done 100, doing 3 to 5 a day is easy. And then for me, it's like, look, if you don't want to do all the work yourself or go spend a ton of money on marketing, find people to help you, right? There's no one right answer. For all of you, you might have found the right answer out of one of our 3. Take the one that applies to you most, take it and run with it.
I got one last advice. You made me think of it.
When you said free, one other free marketing tip that's actually worked really well for us is going on all of those online garage sale sites and say, hey guys, I just got done with a flip, or hey, I'm looking for my first flip, or just literally posting on there. That's a free way to do it. And like, don't just say, hey, I'm an investor and I'm looking, just like, you could say, I'm looking for my first house or something like that. People are gonna send you some on-market deals and stuff, so you could say, I'm looking for a fixer-upper. Like, convey it in a way that you put the framing that they want to help you. And so that's a free way to do it too. There's a lot of different free marketing things that you could do to have the lead come to you, and that's one that's worked out really, really well for us. So we post once a week. Hey guys, I'm looking for a fixer-upper. We have our acquisitions guys do that. So, yeah, cool.
All right, I got one more.
All right.
Just kidding. No, I think the last thing is just, you just got to execute at the end of the day. No one from Ryan to us to Monty to anyone in this room that's doing high level, Clint talked about it earlier, knew what the hell we were doing before we started doing it. We just made a decision to execute, right? We learned. We joined a program and we took people's advice and we used it and we learned from it and we grew from it. If you're going to if you're going to be a part of the program and not show up for the calls, we have calls every Monday at 1 o'clock talking about how to flip, raise money, manage construction, submit offers, build a business, who to hire, how to hire. These guys are doing sales training every Wednesday. If you're not going to show up to those and you're not going to take advice and actually utilize it, you're literally wasting your time and wasting your money. So you got to execute. That's the only difference between the people who are doing high level business and people just starting out. So.
Thank you guys enjoyed that.
Don't show the kids.
Jasper, the younger.